Hi, and welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen. Today we have a very special guest, Sabine Schleese with Schleese Saddles. And the reason we started talking is we had a contest on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I got married with horses on a horse and horseback, a Western theme 23 years ago. We thought it'd be fun to, since June is wedding month, to have a contest and hear some stories. We heard from all over the world, basically, and we started reading Sabine's story, and it was so great. Maybe not at the time, but it was great to read and revisit. And then we started talking to Sabine, and she has such a great story. We couldn't wait to have her on the show. So, Sabine, thanks for being on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Scott. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And we're so glad you're on the show, and so glad you entered the contest, so we got to meet, and I would have been a loss if we didn't get to meet. So we can't wait to hear about your wedding story. You sent some pictures, and they were beautiful, but maybe the day didn't go that way. Maybe it wasn't beautiful.
No, when you're dealing with horses, there are often just unexpected little mishaps that can occur. We actually had planned to ride with 4 of Johan's friends as an accompaniment, because it was a 5-kilometer ride from where the house was to the Justice of the Peace, where we were getting married in the next little town. And unfortunately, the night before, a couple of them decided that they didn't really want to stress their horses by riding on the pavement because they had a show coming up on the weekend. So they basically all backed out. And so last minute, we got another friend of ours to commit to riding with us. So it was just the 2 of us. However, then Johan's horse went lame. Like all of a sudden, he just was going crazy out in the paddock and kind of cut himself on some barbed wire. So we didn't have a horse. So thankfully, the girl who had committed to riding with us, she lent us her horse, which was great. And as it turned out, he was actually a half brother to Johan's horse, which was kind of neat. And then she rode along with us, and her boyfriend walked with us. We dressed him up in the boots and everything. I mean, the poor guy had blisters on his feet like you wouldn't believe. But he walked the entire 5 kilometers between us. So it still worked out okay. But, just one mishap after another.
Oh, it seemed like a team effort. So like when y'all were going down the streets, were people kind of coming out to see what was going on?
They were driving past. It was on a country road where there were not really any houses or anything. So as they drove past and we were driving very slowly, my brother-in-law was ahead of us filming with the lovely little Super 8 camera, like, no sound or anything from back then. And then we got to the city hall. I got off the horse, and like I was riding on Johan's pommel, basically. We had a pillow under my butt. I was kind of riding side saddle, but it wasn't really side saddle. So he was kind of holding on to me with one arm so I wouldn't slip off. And I get off the horse, and I'm like adjusting my dress and holding out my bouquet, and the horse takes a huge chomp out of it.
Oh,
so no. But that's okay. It was fun.
So the horse ended up with a bouquet.
Yeah, we always said so many things went wrong on the wedding day itself that the marriage could only be great. So, and it's been.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So wonderful. So as far as the wedding, so y'all had 3 different wedding parties. Is that correct? So everybody could be involved?
We had our actual wedding day, which we had to change the date 3 times because of Johan's license certification, and then my father's business travel plans, and then my in-laws' wedding anniversary. It was just one thing after another. So we decided we'll get married on this day. And then we had already sent out the wedding invitations for 2 weeks later, but my father was still working at the time, and he had to be back for a director's meeting. So he couldn't come to the actual reception, but we decided everybody's coming to the reception, so we'll just continue to leave that date as it is. And then when we did a 3-month honeymoon after we got married, a couple months after, and we traveled around the world and ended up at my parents' place in Ontario here. And so they had another reception for us. So it was 3 parties. It was great.
Oh, that's wonderful. So for all the people wanting to get married with a theme, with a horse or something, what advice would you give them?
Expect the unexpected,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, it was a fabulous experience nonetheless. And if you have the wherewithal and the means to do it, then by all means include your horse in your festivities.
Absolutely. It made such a good story, and even though there was little road bumps along the way, it just turned out perfect. So we appreciate you sharing your story and entering and everything. And I'm so glad you did, just so I could meet you and talk more. So you're an amateur ballroom dancer. You worked at NASA. You competitive snow ski. But you and your husband started Schleese Saddlery. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We started it in 1986 because, 1985 was when we got married, and we ended up here, as I said, in Ontario, and we did kind of an informal market survey. We drove around to some barns and some tack shops, and we were very lucky to meet the Pracht family just outside of Newmarket, which is where we live now. And they're Germans. Eva Maria Pracht was on the Canadian team. Her daughter was on the Canadian team. Her father was the first dressage world champion, Joseph Neckermann, 1966. And because we're all German, we just got along, what's the expression, white on rice or whatever.
Yes.
Anyway, so they had this beautiful equestrian facility, and Mr. Pracht said, I'm hosting the World Dressage Championships here next summer. And if you're interested, if you'd like to be our official saddler, the job is yours. So we thought, wow, this is very cool. And it was kind of like our ticket back to Canada. I'd been living in Germany for 9 years after my undergrad and working for, as I said, for NASA, and went to school there and worked for various companies. But for me, it was the opportunity to come back home to Canada. And so we decided to start the proceedings to get him as landed immigrant. And I guess what you call it is resident alien or whatever down there.
Right.
And landed immigrant up here. And we came over then in July of 1986. And basically we were living at my parents' place. So we had to commute 2 hours each way, each day for about 2 months until we found our house and moved in up here.
Goodness, what a commute. But at least it was doing something you love.
The funny thing is, my husband spoke absolutely no English when we first came over. I mean, a lot of people in the dressage world would go over to Germany to train and stuff. So a lot of them spoke German and stuff. But when I think back, I don't even know how he managed to talk with hands and feet and sign language and whatever. But it was, I don't think I've told you this story, but within about a year and a half, he picked up the language very, very quickly. And within about a year and a half, he was actually invited by the Canadian Equestrian Federation to hold a talk on saddle fitting for their annual general meeting. And there were like 100 and some delegates there. And the night before, we were at a client's barn with very low hanging beams. My husband is 6'4". And so he stood up, bonked his forehead, and ended up with, I think he broke his nose. He had black eyes. He looked like he'd been in a fight. We go to the convention the next day, and I'm introducing him and everything. And he's like, before you think my wife, she beat me up. He said, no, I said, I was at a barn last night. He said, and I bumped my foreskin. So,
oh, no.
Like that silence, and then everybody bursts out laughing, and I went, but we have these Johannisms, we call them, because he kind of has his own language still. Like, he doesn't go off on tangents, he goes off on tangerines. So we have a book of Johannisms that are just a joke now, running joke.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. And I think you told me a story about some red shoes, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Well, there's actually, if you go onto our YouTube channel, you Google red shoes and saddle fitting, we made a video a couple of years ago whereby, in our industry, trainers are God. Whatever they say goes. Whatever they suggest to their clients and their students is usually, what they say is good. So we decided to make a point we came walking in with red high heels, because red is one of my favorite colors. And I have this pair of red high heels that I love. And he's walking into the barn. He's going like, what are you talking about? And he says, don't you like my shoes? He says, my friend has them. She loves them. They go with everything. She thinks the best thing. The point being that just because a saddle fits your trainer, or the trainer is endorsing a particular brand or whatever, doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right thing for you and your horse. So that kind of was a very nice visual analogy. And actually at various equine affairs and stuff where he's been a speaker, he actually walks on stage wearing these heels, which is great visual impact. And people immediately, it breaks the ice,
Absolutely. It's worth the price of the ticket right there. But he's so right. It's a team that fits your horse the right way. The farrier, the saddle maker, the trainer, the owner, everybody is working for that horse.
Call it, yeah. The circle of influence. And everybody needs to communicate so that you're all on the same page and that you're working cooperatively for the well-being of the horse rather than against each other.
Circle of influence. I love that. I love that. And so with y'all saddle, with the saddles, y'all have an 80-point touch system, right? Is that correct? Is that what you would call it? An 80
I'm
point,
sorry.
80 point evaluation? Yeah, 80 point evaluation.
Yeah, we have an 80-point saddle fit evaluation. We have actually the long time developed evaluation forms that we've come up with over the years.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
This is for our Western saddle. You can see we've got pictures here of the Western saddle, but it goes to the diagnostics where we find out rider information, horse information. And then we talk about the saddle that they're using presently, the condition of the saddle, how the saddle fits to the rider, how the saddle fits to the horse. And then we start working on, we have a column here for dynamic assessment where we watch you ride in your saddle. Then we fit what we call it, a sizing saddle to you and your horse, and we provide that. And then we offer you a solution. And there's a couple of options that we can offer you, and then you decide what you want to do. So the evaluation itself is a totally separate service than selling you a saddle. You can go with this form, then you get a copy of it. You can go to your local tack shop and say, this is what they recommend, and this is what I need. So do you have something that would fit me?
Right. So, see, that's such a great tool, because people, it's just like the red high heels. It's kind of funny, but it's so right. And the same with the saddles. And every horse is different, and every rider is different. And the 80 points. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The good thing is we have this then on file, and you keep a copy of it. And when we see you again 3 months, 4 months down the road, we can compare. Your horse has changed, or look, this is what was happening the last time we were here, and now this is how he's grown, or this is how he's muscled up, or whatever. You can always use this as a diagnostic tool to determine what's going on with you and your horse.
That's so wonderful. Everybody wants to know how to make them go forward and sideways and do all that. But if they're not fitting right, it's not going to be comfortable for the horse or for the rider.
Well, the main thing is actually everybody always says, well, I don't really care if my saddle fits me. The main thing is it fits my horse. The reality of it is if it doesn't fit you, if it's not comfortable for you, and we are huge proponents of, gender appropriate saddles, because the demographics in the industry have changed over the last 50, 60 years. It's mostly women riding now, and the saddles have always been made by men for men and don't necessarily fit our body forms. Now the question is, of course, it's all politically correct, and what do you identify as? Doesn't matter. You were born a male or a female. That's how your pelvic structure is. And when you die and they only have your bones to decide what you were, that's what determines. And so that's how we make our saddles, is we actually, on our full custom saddles, we'll put you in plaster cast and take a mold of your butt.
Wow.
You'll see pictures of that in the book, where we've got a male and a female who are very similar in body conformation. They look very, they're both slim, but you can see the difference where the female, in order to have that classic shoulders, hips, heel straight line, has to sit forward on her pubic symphysis, and that hurts. So for the most part, to escape the pain, we collapse at the hip, we get into the nice chair seat because it hurts.
Right. And there's no sense in that. If you can fix it, why not?
Exactly.
Have a nice ride and a comfortable ride. And we do have our book. And at the end of the show, we're going to put your website, so other people that want to read the book or see the saddles, they can go there and shop and learn more about their horse and how it should fit. So when somebody is wanting to get one of your saddles or do the 80-point test, so is there clinics, ambassadors, or how can they get you to their town or their community so we can see what y'all do, what you provide?
Well, we have probably over 500 regular clinic organizers all across North America that we've been working with for the last 20, 30 years. But we are always interested, if you've got somebody at your barn, or if you're interested in having us come out, if you've got a couple of friends you can put together, because we're commuting basically. We're working on finding local pockets of trained, we call them saddle ergonomists, which through our sister company, Saddle Fit for Life, we have an actual curriculum and training course, which has been endorsed by the U.S. Dressage Federation, by the German National Riding School, and also by various universities, where my husband actually teaches veterinarians about saddle fitting because it's not part of their normal curriculum. So it's a very high-end, high-level professional development opportunity. And we work with these people all across North America to put on clinics and, allow us to service our clientele. We like to work with other equine professionals because they already have a network of clients, and gives them another tool in their belt, basically, to say, okay, as a chiropractor or whatever, this is the reason why your horse is laming, but here's a solution possibility. Talk to these people, that kind of thing.
Right. Call Schleese. Absolutely. So I appreciate you saying that, because I know there's people, somebody's going to watch this show and say, man, I need to have them out. I want to invite some friends and we're going to talk about saddle fitting, because that's probably a topic they haven't talked about or didn't know to talk about because they were never taught that. And
very interesting on like, I belong to a number of Facebook groups, and the amount of people who post pictures and say, does this saddle fit? What do you think? What's your opinion?
Yeah.
Me crazy, because there are so many opinions out there. And the fact of the matter is that you cannot argue with the laws of nature and the facts of science that, there's a reason why you need to deal with people who have been trained in this. I mean, it's like Google doctor,
Yeah, absolutely.
Bump on my arm. What do you think it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's so important to get the professionals around your horse, just to get not just for the best performance, but just for the right thing to do for that horse and for yourself. And it just sets everybody up to win and do a lot better job. And even if they're doing trails, you give that horse the best opportunity. And for safety, if that saddle's moving around, you're not comfortable, something could happen. So
we're in a very dangerous industry. I mean, let's face it. It's so you want to give yourself all the possible benefits that you can, and that's dealing with professional people who are like, I have to say that, sometimes you've got trainers who will come up and say, oh, that saddle doesn't fit, or this doesn't. You know what? You're a trainer. You teach that person how to ride. I'm a professional saddle analyst, saddle fitter. Don't presume to tell me how to do my job, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
We need to work together and find the best solution for this client. And the fact is that the saddle that you're endorsing may fit you, may fit your horse, but it doesn't necessarily work for her,
Right. That's absolutely. I don't ever give veterinarian advice, saddle advice. I just stay in my lane and call the professionals. That's the best way, because I don't want to ever give any bad advice. And there's no sense in that. So I love that. So this show is inspirational, but it's educational. So being an entrepreneur, and you're a top 100 in Canada, female entrepreneur and a woman of the year. So people that are wanting to become entrepreneurs in this industry, and this is a huge industry, what advice would you give them?
Well, excuse me. As we've made our way through these past years, and we've probably established, I would say, 10 to 15 competitors in their own companies. Right. Entrepreneurs are true entrepreneurs, I think, are people who actually have a business model that will allow them to work with other people, hire other people, give other people a livelihood. An entrepreneur or a sole proprietor or a service person, they're two different things. And there are a lot of individuals who have started their own businesses, but not their own companies, if you know what I mean. You know the difference?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So with employees, and you all are very large all over the world. So how do you manage it? How do you hire that? Or how do you set from the top the 80 point to make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do? For somebody that's growing their business and that wants to get to your level?
Well, the 80 point evaluation is part of our training through Saddle Fit for Life, which we recommend, or we require anyone who's coming to work with us in that field as a saddle fit they have to take the course. They have to basically go through the externship and the independent assessments of friends, horses, whatever. Just practice.
Education.
Yeah, education is absolutely crucial. We struggled a long time with the question, do we hire salespeople and teach them about horses, or do we hire horse people and teach them how to sell and fit? And it's been a dilemma. I mean, we've had really good salespeople that we've hired, but if you don't speak horse, it's like, it's a very unique industry. The people will see through the bull, you know, can I say
really
that?
quick. Yeah, really quick. Yes.
Yeah, through it very quickly, and you lose credibility. So I think it's more important we hire people who are passionate about the horse, passionate about the well-being of the horse, have a great attitude, can work with people, and are excited to learn this facet of it, because these are skills that can be taught, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing if you weren't working for your saddle company and running this big company? And what would you do?
What would I do? Oh my God.
What would you be doing? Yeah. If you had free time to do anything you wanted to do.
Well, no, if I had, actually, I am doing what I want to do with my free time. If I had to do it over and this was not an option for me, I probably would have gone to law school and become a lawyer. I actually wrote my LSATs way back in the late 70s.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I had been accepted at law school, and I was going to go and be a lawyer. And I truly like the law. And I mean, the handful of times that we've been threatened with and taken to small claims court or whatever, it's always been fun. I love it. And whenever clients are unhappy, will say they've got a saddle for 3 or 4 years and now it never fit. I'm going to take you to court and sue you. And I'm just like, bring it on, baby. Let's. Oh my. Done this, but now that I'm retired, not really, because right now I'm actually translating all of Johan's curriculum into German so that we can put it on for the German website. But I'm looking into, I'm writing a book, and I'm spending a lot of time dancing. That's our passion. That's our hobby. And we just bought some land about an hour and a half north of here where our kids have moved on, and it's got a broken down barn, which we're going to rebuild, and was actually the home of the Eastern Ontario Arabian Association way back when. Wow. So hopefully we're going to bring horses back onto the property and, enjoy that.
Oh, that's great. That's so good. I love that answer though. You're doing what you want to do. That's what everybody's dream is to work at their business, and they love it. So that's great.
That's what they always, if you do what you love, it'll be like you never work a day in your life. Yeah. It'll be fun. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. So what's next for Schleese Saddles? What are y'all doing next? I know I saw some Western saddles on there, and it looks like your product line just keeps developing. So, and you're translating to German now. And I know when y'all wrote the book, you were translating to English, I think, back in the day.
Well, what's new for us is that, we're continuing to innovate and introduce new products. We're working together with the Johannesburg Jockey Club. We've developed a racing exercise saddle, which has gotten phenomenal results. Like, even after the horses race the track on their usual exercise saddle, they'll sit in ours and do it again and do it faster and do it better. And the strides are longer and everything. So that's a market we haven't even really scratched the surface of. Our Western stuff, we haven't really scratched the surface of. I mean, the Western market is 20 times the size of the English market.
Right.
So we haven't really done much in that. We've got a couple of patent pendings where my husband has developed some new stuff that he wants to put into the new saddle lines. One is called a binate saddle, which is basically a marrying of the English saddle tree for the rider, because women especially, they like to feel narrow twist and feel comfortable, and a Western saddle tree for the horse, because Western saddles are working saddles and the horses have to be comfortable, because back in the old days, the cowboy was responsible for making sure his horse was sound and healthy the whole time.
Right. Oh, that's great. I love that saddle, and you're right, it was. I mean, that was the way they made their living, and they were going to take care of that horse all means possible. Yeah. So cool. Well, Sabine, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything I didn't cover? Because you have such a great story, and you're doing so much, and the company is truly a great company. So did I miss anything?
No, I think we pretty much covered it, Scott. I really can't think of much. If you are going to just hold up the book and show people that where they can get that, and send them to our website, which is just saddlesforwomen.com. That's the easiest way to remember it.
Okay, saddlesforwomen.com. And we're going to put a picture of the book into the show and put your wedding picture so everybody can see that in the show. And then put all your other contact information. So if somebody wants to host a clinic or be an ambassador, what's the easiest way for them to do that or sign up? If they're watching the show, should they just go to your website?
Just go to our website. There's lots of, contact us, and there's lots of options on what they are interested in doing with us. And if you're interested in doing any further professional development on your own, go to the saddlefitforlifeacademy.com. Have you got that contact information as well for the other company? Yeah.
I do.
So, yeah.
Awesome. We'll have all that on the end of the show for sure.
And we're always hearing from passionate horse people.
Oh, that's so great. It's such a fun industry. It really is. And if you love horses, it just makes sense to get a saddle that fits and study and learn why it fits. So,
great.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Scott. It's always fun to talk to you, and it's like I've known you all my life.
It really is. I feel the same way. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you very much.